Welcome today to Psychology of Money, Stages of Change. This is the 10th, 11th webinar of this academic year as part of the Get Savvy, Grow Your Green Stuff webinar series, but it's kind of the beginning of a mini webinar series within Get Savvy about psychology and money. We're covering stages of change today. Next month in April for Financial Capability Month, we're going to cover stress, money, and bad habits. And in May, we're going to talk about money and happiness. So it's just all themed for the next few months. And I'm very excited about that because I'm a psychology major and I'm very nerded out about all of the topics that we're talking about. My name is Andrea Pellegrini, and I run the Student Money Management Center for the entire University of Illinois system. I'm based in Urbana, but I also cover Chicago and Springfield. And I'm joined today by my good colleague, Emily from Illinois Extension. Emily, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So my name's Emily Harmon, and I am a family life educator with U of I Extension. So we are if nobody knows what Extension is, look it up. But we're kind of the outreach arm of the university, and I get to do fun things like this and partner with Andrea and just talk about, translate research that's been done to make it usable for our community members. And I nerd out about the stages of change. So I'm very happy to be here.
And we are very thankful that you're here today, Emily. And if you are familiar with our webinars, we also run a lot of activity in our chats at the same time. So you might notice there are several co-hosts monitoring the chat today. If you have a question, you can go ahead and ask them. They'll either try to get you an answer or hold it for us to kind of address at the end. So we'll also be sharing a lot of information in the chat that you can follow up on, and we'll email that along with the recording when today's webinar is over. Obviously, we will need to caption it appropriately for accessibility, so it might take a couple days or weeks in order to do that. So collectively, the Get Savvy team represents organizations across the state of Illinois, which rest on the land of multiple Native nations, including the Peoria, Kaskaskia, Piankashaw, Wea, Miami, Mascoutin, Ottawa, Sauk, Meskwaki, Kickapoo, Potawatomi, Ojibwe, and Chickasha nations. And we have a responsibility to acknowledge these Native nations and work with them towards a more vibrant and inclusive society. You might also know that we like to do a little polling. So I'm going to find the poll and launch it. We want to know kind of who's joining us today. This is anonymous and it's aggregated. So we just want to know kind of what age ranges of our participants are here today, as well as kind of your background, whether you're a full-time employee or student, kind of that status. But that helps us to modify some of our examples and try to talk to where you are at your stage in life. So it looks like we have people from all kinds of age ranges between 18 to 74. A lot of us are in the 45 to 54 age range, which is great. We have quite a few students, but we also have a lot more full-time employees. Some of you may be both. I'm both a student and full-time employee myself. And we have a good gender distribution and race and ethnicity distribution. So that's great. Thank you very much. I am going to end that poll and I'll share the results real quick so you can see who all is joining us. But I'm going to stop sharing very quickly because we have stuff to do today. All right, so our learning objectives for today, we kind of want to define financial wellness and some of the related terms. We'll weave that in throughout today's discussion of stages of change. We also want to identify what influences our financial behaviors. There's a lot of things that go into how we make financial decisions. Typically, traditional economics likes to assume that people make decisions rationally, which we know that's not true. And we're going to talk about why that is and how things have changed regarding how behavioral decisions are made regarding finances. We're also going to explore the stages of change specifically in relation to financial behavior. We're also going to talk about some money personalities and inventories and beliefs around money that might help you better identify kind of where you lie and how to talk about that with others. We're also going to connect the stages of change to financial well-being so you can kind of see where we're all in transition and it's not a easy path to follow sometimes when it comes to financial well-being. So, since we're talking about money personality and these inventories, I kind of wanted to talk about the history of research. We're talking about, Emily works for Extension, and so it's a responsibility to distribute information that relates to or is informed by research. So the links between psychology and money have kind of a lengthy history going back to the 1930s and 40s when the first psychological exploration of financial behavior kind of started. This is when we realize that people's attitudes toward money can really vary. Everyone doesn't view money in the same way. So, if we fast forward to the 1970s, this is where money started to be recognized as a psychological construct, and we started looking at the emotional and behavioral relationships that people have with money. In the 1980s, Richard Thaler published um, about the toward a positive theory of consumer choice. This is the first publication that really challenged that rational economic theory. And so this is the beginning of the field of behavioral economics. He's kind of the grandfather or father of behavioral economics. In the 1990s, money personality framework started being developed to help explain psychology's role in financial behavior a little bit better. And money personality research has continued to gain both public and academic recognition since then. So it's still growing as a field. It's very prominent even in media and discussions more publicly. But this timeline really focuses more on the study of money personalities. But the behavioral economics field that I talked about, this is where the fields of psychology and economics help us understand kind of the interplay between the unpredictable nature of human behavior and the broader context of economics and the systems in which we make decisions. And money relates to many areas of our lives. So the future of research regarding psychology and money is likely to continue to be more interdisciplinary and to include more frameworks, more variety of different fields of study and perspectives. So that's really good because it impacts all of our lives. All right, so let's talk about understanding the influences on spending behaviors specifically. So, obviously, there are things that we care about, money values. These impact our decisions. So, if you look at this like a tree, and I think Emily did a better job of explaining money values influencing behaviors as a tree analogy, but I'll do my best to recreate what she's provided to me. If you think about your values as the roots, these roots can relate to your financial priorities, which are shaped by your values and experiences, which we'll talk more about a little bit later. And these values impact your decisions, which are represented as branches, right? They represent our financial choices and decisions that we make that is guided by our values, that root system that we can't really see, but we know is there. And then when we think about the results of those decisions, it's something that we see as actions. And this shows how your values manifest as financial behaviors. And so if you think of this as a tree, there's all these different influencing factors that help the tree to thrive and grow. and have a better well-being overall. And the same can be said of our financial well-being. We have these root systems, these underlying values and beliefs that impact how we view and interact with money, and that results in our actions. And there's other factors we may not have control over. We may not have kind of a choice in what we're exposed to, but this gives you a little bit of an idea of how to visualize how money may influence your behaviors and your relationship with money.
Yeah, Andrea, you did a great
Go
job.
ahead. Go
You did a great
ahead,
job.
please.
Um, no, but I just wanted to say, like, if you're wanting to understand the reason why you make financial decisions or why you decide to make financial actions or why you decide to spend money on something, this is a really good illustration of how we have our money values, and our values are really are just our base for what we decide to do with our money. So,
Thank you, Emily. You wrapped up my little tangents into a beautiful analogy. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So, and thinking about who you are with money, and what our values are, let's think about what our priorities are when we come to make decisions around money. So there's some words on this screen that can be thought of as common values, and you may even be more familiar with some of these or recognize these as your own values, especially since we have a more mature population here. We're a little more aware as we get more mature of ourselves and what we value. So take a minute and just think about what you value. Does that translate to your own money decisions? Can you see that influence? And obviously, this list here, we have respect, honesty, trustworthiness, family, status, health. This is not an exhaustive list. I've seen lists of values that are as long as multiple pages. So you might have something that you value that isn't on this list, and that doesn't mean that it's not valuable or it's not important. It just means that we just didn't capture it. Um, so Emily values family a lot. That's the top. I think a lot of us value multiple things, and sometimes it's hard to determine what's a priority. And sometimes, depending on the context of when we're making decisions, one part of our values or our identity might play a bigger role in our decision making than it normally would. For example, if I am thinking about my role as a daughter when I'm going shopping, I might think more about buying stuff for my mother, right? Or my father. Whereas if I'm in a position where I'm trying to buy gift for my nieces or nephews, I might think about family in a different way or my role in a different way. And so that might be similar for how you make financial decisions as well. And thank you, Richard, for putting our little activity in the chat from Extension that might help you think about prioritizing your own values. All right, so there are lots of money personality inventories out there. And one way that you can find out who you are with money is by identifying your own money personality. And we're just going to talk about three. There are other tools as well that you might use. And just like the multitude of general personality assessments, there are lots of money personality assessments. But the concept of money personalities, as far as we understand, was first recognized by Olivia Mellon and Sherry Christie in a book, at least publicly, right? We have a longer history of research on money personalities from an academic standpoint, but she created the money personalities inventory through Money Harmony. That's the book that they published. Money Scrimps is another tool that you can use to identify your unconscious beliefs around money, and that was created by Ted and Brad Klontz. There's been a revised version that is now available. It was first published about in 1999, and they revised it in 2016. And then Money Habitudes is a card game that you can play. And that was created by Sybil Solomon. And it was recently validated by a research study that was published just last year in 2024. So we're going to talk about each one of these. All right, so Money Harmony divides personalities into these 6 different categories. There's the amasser, which in general, they think more money means more happiness. The avoider is this person that doesn't want to think about money, doesn't want to talk about money, maybe very challenging to have shared goal conversations with an avoider. Hoarder is someone that thinks of money as security. So the more money that they have, the more security they feel. A money monk believes that money is the root of all evil, which may cause conflict in some situations, especially if there's a varied socioeconomic status of people in a group. The spender believes that money is to spend and it makes you happy when you spend it. And the worrier is typically consumed by worrying about money and has a lot of anxiety around money. And you may see yourself as in different personality inventories or personality categories for this money harmony quiz, depending on where you are in your life. So that might be something that you take a look at. And Richard shared it in the chat. Our next one is money scripts. So we're going to launch a poll to see if you can determine if you know where to match these. So who are money avoiders, who are money worshipers, who would be a money status, and who would be money vigilance. I just launched the poll, and so it's a matching poll, and I will also read off the description. So who would think money is bad and causes negative emotions? Which one do you think would be there? And who would you think would identify high self-worth means high net worth? Um, and which one of these do you think would think of money as a source of shame? And then the final option is money will solve all your problems. Which money script aligns with that value? All right, so this one's a little bit difficult if you don't know anything about money scripts because these are kind of vague. Emily, do you want to elaborate while people are answering this poll?
Yeah. So, first of all, it's this is my first time doing the matching activity, and it's really cool to see it from the co-host side
Yes.
because they categorize it very well. Okay.
Yeah.
So, talking about giving a more description about these terms. So, a money avoider, that's when money is bad and that you do not deserve money. You may be worried about abusing credit cards or overdrafting a checking account, things like that. Money worshiper, that's where more money will make things better. An increase in income will solve people's problems. Money status, that is just that money is status. And someone may be if someone identifies as that, they may be over concerned with financial success and being materialistic. And then money vigilance, that's just where someone may think of money as a deep source of shame and secrecy. And when you're when you're when I was reading these descriptions, and if anybody thought like, man, that's like hardcore, because that is the full end of the spectrum of a money avoider or worshiper or something like that. And like what Andrea was saying, um you may think that you're like a money avoider and maybe a money vigilance. You may try to meet in the middle of the road with those two things, and that's natural. But when describing these money beliefs, it's just the very extreme of each of them.
Yes, I think that when you use the inventory, you can also hold beliefs that are in each one of these categories.
Yes.
So it's like you lean more towards one of these extremes or the other, or you might be high in multiple categories. I tend to straddle a couple categories when I take most money inventories. I'm going to end the poll and share the results real quick so you can see how people responded. And if you hadn't hit submit, before Emily started telling all the answers, then you might have got it more correct. So it looks like there was some splits, but I think everybody did a pretty good job considering that this is a rather new concept. So um, these were the answers. I'll stop sharing and I'm going to let Emily take over.
Yeah. So like Andrea said a little bit ago, this was created by Ted and Brad Klontz, who are brothers, and we just went over the descriptions for each of these. Um, so this is just another way that we can assess our unconscious money beliefs. And I believe that, yes, so we just put a the test or the online quiz in the chat if anybody would like to go find out what their own money script is. And then I'm going to be talking about money habitudes. So this is just another way to help identify your attitudes or habits, right? Habitudes with money. So this is normally done in the form of a card game, like Andrea said a little bit ago. Um, but in the last 5 years, they converted the card game to a digital version as well. Um, but it when it was first created, it was done as a card game. So adults with more financial experiences often find the game easier to play because they have more experience making financial decisions. And then as we put the link in the chat for where to learn about this, since this tool happens to cost money, so you might see you might see money habitudes in with financial educators or people in the financial field like practitioners who can pay for the game and do it with you. So, and as Andrea said, our money values can change. So values just in general about anything can change over time. So when we get new information, have new relationships, or even our experiences, these are all things that influence what you value in your priorities. So understanding where your values come from can help you reassess what's the most important to you right now. That's why I really like that tree analogy because our values and our money values are just the roots of our decisions and our actions. So values are related to a lot of things, but being financial educators, we're going to focus on that money, right? We're going to focus on the finance side. So I want you guys to think about some of the earliest memories about money. How have those memories shaped your money values today? How does it impact your habits and behaviors around spending or saving? So what kinds of things have happened to you that have changed your money values? How did your money values change? So this is kind of what we call, and like looking at the timeline there on the screen, this is kind of what we call the money story. And just because a habit based on a value you grew up with served you well in the past does not mean that you have to maintain it if it's no longer serving you well. You are the author of your own money story. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's true. Like looking at this timeline here, when you were a child, you needed money to go get candy or go buy the toy. And then as you go through teenager, adulthood, early career, your relationship with money and the values behind your money change because you're in a different phase of life. Like I mentioned how I value family. When thinking about money values, I value my family and the money that I the money that I have, the money that I get helps support my family. When I was a kid, that's not how I looked at money. But I've had new experiences, relationships, information that have changed my money value over time, and that's perfectly fine. So, and now we're going to talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If anybody knows what this is, kudos to you. Um, but when a lot of people like to think of needs as generally the same for everyone across the board. So they may even cite Maslow's hierarchy of needs, specifically the the physiological needs, when talking about defining needs versus wants. And this can be a good framework to start with when thinking about our spending priorities. So the original hierarchy, which is on the left-hand side of the screen, that pyramid, is the physiological needs, safety and security, love and belonging, self-esteem, and self-actualization needs. So when we talk about basic needs, most people think of the physiological needs like food, water, shelter, things like that. So Maslow's hierarchy has four assumptions. Needs are satisfied sequentially. Income is relevant in the satisfaction of needs. Needs are associated with well-being. And then the way that we satisfy the needs is sequentially from the bottom up. So we need to get basic food, water, shelter. And once we have those needs met, then we can go on to safety and security. And then once we have those needs met, then we can go on to love and belonging and so on. So those are the assumptions. But as you may be thinking, and as we have found out, needs are not that simple. There's been a lot of research done since Maslow's hierarchy of needs was created nearly 80 years ago that emphasizes that needs may not need to be met sequentially or or linearly. For example, we all have those physiological needs, but we may experience self-esteem needs at the same time as the physiological needs. So, but there's also an expanded hierarchy of needs. If you're interested in seeing how other researchers have built on Maslow's work, then we just shared that article in the chat. So, some of the research that was published in 2023 highlights that income is relevant to meet the physiological needs, but not safety, love, belonging, self esteem, or self actualization. So, what that's kind of saying is the physiological needs is relevant with your income, but not the other things. And it is possible for people to rate their physiological needs satisfaction as low while ranking the higher order needs satisfaction as very high. So, we're also sharing another source from a study in the chat for you to check out, and we'll also include all these links in the follow-up email to everybody who's registered as well. And then financial well-being is complicated, just like our needs may be complicated. Financial well-being can be different for everybody. My financial well-being is probably different than Andrea's and everybody else on this webinar, right? So this diagram comes from the National Endowment for Financial Education, NEFI, if that's more familiar with people. Um, they do a really good job at explaining what can all factor into a person's financial well-being. So basically what this ecosystem is saying is that financial knowledge, your understanding of money, financial capability, managing money resources effectively, and foundational factors like your values, family, etc., all influence your financial well-being. And then there are unhealthy financial behaviors that we may have. These are things that impact our finances or overall financial well-being in a negative way. We'll talk a little bit more about the problematic gambling and overspending in a little bit, but just some food for thought here. So now we're going to get into the stages of change, which is my favorite. So I want you to think about it, like how do you start change? What makes you want to change? So one way to explain that, um, Andrew, if you want to advance the slide, thank you. So one way to explain change or decisions behind the change is called the stages of change theory. So I try to be very lay terms and very like translating the mission that Extension has. It's just translating research to make it usable for our community members. So I'm not going to get super in the weeds about all of this, but it's still very interesting and something that can help us explain our own financial behaviors. So I like to focus on the stages of change theory, which is also known as the trans theoretical model, but I call it stages of change. Um, so this was developed in the 1970s by two professors of psychology. So this model explains change through 6 steps. So that pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, and termination. So whenever this theory was first created, its main objective was to help people quit smoking. Fun fact. Um, but today, this model is used in multiple health fields. But the beauty of this model is that it can be applied to all factors of life, including financial behavior. So that's what we're doing today, looking at the stage of change model in relation to our financial behaviors. So we're going to start out by going through each of the stages and kind of breaking them down for us. So the first stage that someone can be in is called pre-contemplation. So this is a stage that someone may not realize that they have a problem, or maybe they have like a slight inkling that they have a problem, but the cons don't really affect them that much, and they don't want to bother with it, right? So I want you to think about ignorance is bliss. But someone in this stage may say things like, I don't want to know, ignorance is bliss, or I'm just going to ignore that. So this person is in the cycle and they don't even realize it, right? So that's the first stage. The second stage is contemplation, not pre-contemplation, contemplation. So this is when someone may start to realize they have a problem. They are giving a problematic behavior recognition. They are realizing something. So it's kind of like that light bulb moment, like, oh, maybe it is a problem that my account is going negative every month or something like that. They're having that aha moment. They are starting to give more thoughtful considerations to the pros and cons of whatever the behavior is. They are more inclined to take action on their unhealthy behavior within the next 6 months, give or take. So they could still be experiencing some timidness or resistance to starting a new behavior. So it's yeah, I know I need to start a budget, but let me start it at the first of the month because of X, Y, and Z, right? So I said here that they have intention to start a healthy financial behavior change within the next 6 months. Through research, this was a pretty common timeline for when change happens, but just how our needs are met differently, financial wellness is defined as differently for everybody. Um, this is just the same. Everybody's timeline can be different. It just depends on the person and the situation. And then that third stage is preparation, and it's exactly how it sounds. So, in this stage, people have decided that they want to change a financial behavior and they are ready to take action within the next 30 days, give or take. They're feeling good about wanting to make a change, and they may even be taking baby steps towards that actual behavior change. So, for example, if someone wants to start budgeting, maybe they're exploring budgeting apps, looking at their finances, seeing what options they have. So, we're halfway through the stages of change model. Let's note that we haven't even done a behavior change yet. Nothing has actually happened. We're still thinking about how we are going to change the behavior. So think stepping outside of this model, the stages of change theory, um, and we try to think about it logically within our own lives, it kind of makes sense because as humans, we give time and consideration to something that we want to do, and we think about our options before we act. So just as the stages of change theory is doing, we're leading up and we're thinking up to the change, and then we actually start the change. So, stage 4, action, right? This is the stage where the financial behavior change has happened. So, when the behavior change has happened, the intentions are high to maintain behavior change. Um, when we're in this stage, a full change isn't expected, but small changes are adding up to the big change. So, like, for example, if we go back to like our budget example that we've been doing, if if someone were in this stage, they could be budgeting out their housing expense, that one expense. Or they could be doing the full-blown budget, looking at multiple expenses, tracking income, things like that. It could be either or, but whatever they're doing, they're taking action on the behavior change. And then for stage 5 is maintenance. So this is when a behavior change has become sustainable. So a maintained behavior change for 6 months or more, give or take. When they're in this stage, it becomes easier for a person to keep the behavior change, and they may be seeing successes to their healthy behavior change during this stage. And then when someone is in this stage, they're wanting to protect the change by preventing what we call relapse. So going back to that budget example, let's say you're trying to maintain your budget, stay within your categories that you budgeted for, but there's something just tempting you that you want to buy, right? We all have those things, and maybe you can think about one for yourself. But if somebody's in this maintenance stage, they're looking for ways to fight off that relapse and maintain the behavior change. So maybe they're referring back to their budget to to just say like I don't need it or I can budget for it, but they're finding ways to help keep them grounded in that change. So through research, we kind of found that most people stay at this stage and do not advance. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but just to reference here. And then the last stage is termination. So this is when someone has absolutely no desire to return to the unhealthy behavior and there is zero chance of relapsing. So thinking back to that maintenance stage, most people stay in the stage because it's what's most comfortable for them. And it kind of makes sense. When when you make a change, you may always be fighting off the urge to overspend or the temptation of straying away from your budget. It's something that can absolutely be maintained, but something that is constantly being fighting or maintaining. So that's why this termination stage is hard to achieve because sometimes people are just always fighting that urge to go back to unhealthy behaviors. And then when we think about behavior change and apply it to our own lives, maybe we can think about times we've gotten off the bandwagon, didn't follow through with a plan, or we just simply lost motivation. So, if you're familiar with the stages of change theory at all, or if you do a simple search online, you'll find a lot of different models or diagrams um, because there are different perspectives on this theory as to whether relapse and termination should be included or not. So I like to include the relapse, exit, and reentry holistically as part of this model because none of us are perfect. So there's a quote on the screen from Alvin Toffler, who's a writer, and he said that change is nonlinear and can go backwards and sideways. So yes, you can realize you have a problem or unhealthy behavior. Yes, you can think about what you want to do to change that and actually start taking the steps to change. But guess what? We all are living life and life happens and that can get in the way and take us on a detour. So it's important to just recognize that and even acknowledge and normalize that sometimes we can all go a little sideways and we all maybe go a little backwards, but it's important to get back on track, whatever you're doing. So a good example of this is um, if you're trying to maintain a budget, let's say, well, life happens and we have emergency expenses. So that can throw off our budget, right? Or even make us late on a bill or something like that, but it throws us off. It's important to recognize that, but to remember that we can still get back on the horse or get back on and continue with our healthy behavior change because just because we have one setback doesn't mean that we can't continue on to a healthy behavior change. So at any point in the stage of the change model, you can exit or re-enter. So no matter what stage you are in, you can exit or re-enter. So they say that the farther you get along, like that action and maintenance stage, the more likely you are to achieve behavior change. But we are human and life happens and everybody's situation is different. But what they basically say is the farther you get along in the stages of change theory, the more likely you are to maintain the behavior change.
All right, I think I get to take over and talk about this complicated screen. Is that right?
I think so.
All right. So we wanted to highlight some research that's been done in personal finance where the stages of change model or the trans theoretical model has been applied. So it's been applied to explore things like money mismanagement and using approach and avoidance strategies and kind of decisional balances in early stages of change, usually when someone's doing like financial therapy or financial coaching, this might be helpful as an external agent driving some of the process through the stages of change or recognizing where clients are. Grubman, Horitz, and McKeon applied the model to overspending, again, as a process facilitated by professionals like financial therapists and counselors. Kirkman also applied this in financial counseling and understanding how to accommodate individuals where they are rather than trying to push them forward. Shockey and Sealing also applied financial behavior change or assessed change in financial behavior specifically related to increased savings after participating in a program regarding financial capability. There was a study in 2004 by multiple researchers looking at credit card debt and behaviors from the trans theoretical model. And when you see it in research, they usually will say trans theoretical model at first, and then they'll say TTM after that. So you might see it as TTM a couple places. And then in 2021, there was another study done where they applied this model to compulsive buying and trying to increase awareness using self-assessment tools based on where the person is regarding the stages of change. Um, this is a specific example of how stages of change theory can be applied to the unhealthy behavior of overspending. So, for example, in the pre-contemplation, or Grubman and colleagues called it denial phase, this person is unaware of spending consequences and can't really see what the long-term harms of having high debt and low savings or other unhealthy or risky behaviors is. But when they get to the contemplation stage, or they called it ambivalence, they started weighing the pros and cons of overspending, just like Emily was talking about. When they got to the preparation phase, they were open to ideas and tools for new behaviors. So you might have had conversations with other people that they might be in the contemplation phase. They recognize, there are pros and cons of my shopping behavior, but they are not willing at that point to listen to your ideas. So, as a friend or a parent or a concerned family member, you might try to assess where a person is before you start giving unsolicited advice. Because when they're in preparation, they're more likely to listen to your unsolicited advice. So once they have decided on some stuff and started making action, if it's regarding overspending, this is when the person starts actively working on overspending and is even more receptive to advice. And this is when change becomes real, as kind of the self-esteem aspect and self-control aspect of the behavior change improves. A lot of people might put themselves outside of being the motivator of change and say, well, I just don't have the self-control to do it. They may not have the confidence. And so that's also where this model can be helpful in recognizing where people are in their journey to make changes towards more improved financial well-being. And again, with the maintenance, it's similar to what Emily was saying. Regardless of how it's applied, when it comes to overspending, um, these people are turning new behaviors into habits, but they really need to stay optimistic and learn from any relapses in order to continue the cycle again, or to keep it in the maintenance phase rather than going all the way back to denial. So if relapse does happen, again, we've emphasized this. Old habits are really hard to break. Anything can trigger a new habit. Stress can trigger an old habit to come back. And any emotions that are associated with overspending may return. So guilt, embarrassment, anything that they had gotten to a point they recognized was happening and were upset by, can come into play during relapse that might inhibit maintaining change. So that's just one way that it has been applied. There's lots of other ways. March is Problem Gambling Month. If you were not aware, Illinois recognized March of 2025 as Problem Gambling Awareness Month. Problem gambling indicators include things like experiencing harm, distress, or adverse impacts caused by or exacerbated by gambling. So you can get help. There's a couple programs in Illinois if you or someone you know is struggling with problematic gambling. There are a lot of resources that can help you overcome that. All right, so some stages of a change to support financial well-being. Um, I was going to put a poll, but I think I missed this one. Do you share or talk about finances with another person? If you can put in the chat if you're willing to say yes or no. So I have a partner and we talk about and we share finances with another person. All right, most of us do, even if it's with a roommate, right, where we have shared responsibilities. Sometimes, yeah, a lot of us do. So, the stages of change model can sometimes help, or these financial personality inventories that we've talked about as well can help you with giving the language you need to identify what your own values, your own needs, your own stage of changes regarding how it impacts shared financial behaviors and goals. So that's just something that we wanted to highlight in how you can use this information. Some other ways that you can apply the stages of change in your own life. Obviously, we've talked about this from a financial counseling perspective. So a lot of financial counselors have helped clients using the stages of change. But it can also help you better recognize where you yourself are in the process of change and help you identify kind of the why behind your behaviors, not just your values, but where you are in this recognition that change is an issue and being motivated towards change. And it can also help you communicate your needs to others, especially if you have kind of this shared language to be able to be empathetic to each other when either of you or both of you are struggling. So generally, when I want to talk about approach avoidance strategies, just briefly, because it was mentioned in a lot of the research that we talked about, generally, we as humans like to avoid pain and approach pleasure. So avoidance strategies are things that are used when we are motivated to move away from an undesired end state, like bad credit worthiness. An approach strategy is something that we use when we are motivated towards a desired end state, like increased financial well-being or a better chance at a nice retirement or early retirement, right? The trans-theoretical model or stages of change model can be helpful for categorizing strategies of change according to this approach avoidance distinction. So this perspective suggests that an individual first employs avoidance strategies before considering approach strategies. For example, when it comes to money management, increased savings is an example of an approach strategy, according to Grubman. Reduce spending is an example of an avoidance strategy. So first you want to work towards reducing spending before you work towards increasing your emergency savings. When it comes to, I don't think I have any other examples off the top of my head, but generally you want to try to maximize, if you're early in the stages of change, avoidance strategies, and when you're getting more towards the maintenance, more approach strategies. But you can use either type of these categories of strategies or motivational categories at any point in the stages of change. All right. I don't know why my slide title went away, but I'll fix that in post. All right. But we do want to actually post another poll, a little visual goal setting poll. So, which picture on the screen best represents what you want your financial well-being to feel like in the future? Do you want it to feel like a beach on a sunny day? Do you want to feel it like holding hands at sunset in a field? Do you want to feel like a set of keys? Maybe that represents security for you? Do you want it to feel like some stepping stones across some water or some stacked stones on some foliage out in nature? Or do you want it to feel like laying bricks and having a solid foundation? Or maybe you want it to feel like an airplane flying through the sky on a sunny day. Or maybe you want it to feel like the open road, right? So you might think of it is common practice in financial coaching specifically to use visual goal setting to help people achieve financial goals. And there is a lot of research to support this. We mentioned the Common Sense Lab, and I think we also have a couple resources from the Common Sense Lab at Duke to read later if you are interested in. But the idea behind this is to look at these pictures and choose one that represents your financial journey at its best, whatever that journey may be. So research shows that if you kind of put a picture that represents what your future will look like or you want your future will look like, it will help keep you motivated to achieve your goal. All right. Let's see. I think about 77% of people have participated. And because we want to wrap some things up, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results. So, most people are into the beach. We like the beach, but a lot of people want a future probably with someone else holding hands. Maybe you feel like you want to take steps forward with the stepping stones. There's a lot of people that are laying that foundation with bricks. So there's a lot of different ways to visualize goal setting. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing, but hopefully that was a little fun activity for everyone to do and think about their goals. Oh, now which picture best represents what you want your financial well-being to feel like pops in. All right. So, for those of you that may be in the contemplation phase where you're starting to consider pros and cons of an unhealthy financial behavior you recognize in yourself, we have resources for you. We also have resources for everyone, regardless of where you are in the stages of change model. The U.S. Department of Treasury has outlined 5 financial core competencies to categorize different financial like learning objectives or behaviors that U.S. consumers should be aware of or be able to do. Within the borrow category, maybe your goal is to develop healthy debt management practices. If you're in an earned situation, so this is regarding your income, maybe you want to understand how to maximize your earnings. You want to do better tax planning in the future. Honestly, tax planning is not my favorite activity to do, but it is an important one if we want to maximize our earnings. Maybe within the protect category, you want to understand more ways to mitigate financial risks, or you want to better understand insurance. Within the save category, maybe you are looking to increase saving for emergencies or towards another goal, like maybe retirement or your children's education. There's all kinds of different goals that you might have regarding saving. With spending, maybe you want to be more intentional with your spending habits, especially if you are looking to vote with your dollars, right? We have some information on how you can put that into practice. We also have a lot of podcasts on different topics like budgeting, wealth building, investing, conscious consumerism and what that means. And we just did a podcast episode on the stages of financial behavior change with Emily. So you can check all of those out. All right. So, in summary, we just want to remind you that our money values influence our financial behaviors. Everyone's financial wellness journey is going to be different. like Emily said earlier, my values and my money journey and my challenges are different than hers. And that's the same with all of us. Stages of change can also help us understand the constant of transition throughout our lives. We're always dealing with change, nothing stays stagnant or the same. So it's important to recognize that and accept it as part of moving through stages of change wherever you are. And humans also tend to avoid pain and seek out pleasure. So that's where the avoidance and approach strategies for how we categorize motivation to change can be helpful in recognizing what you might want to practice first, which and what you might want to practice as you get closer to your goal. Um, and there are so many different educational resources to empower financial behavior change. We've listed a whole bunch in the chat. We have a bunch on the Student Money Management Center website. We have a bunch on the Illinois Extension website. So there's lots of different places that you can go to continue learning more, like you are here for today. If you can check out our post-webinar survey and let us know how we did today, that would be really helpful. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, our next webinar is Stress, Money, and Bad Habits on Thursday, April 3rd, also at noon. And we are also doing a Money and Happiness webinar on Thursday, May 1st, also at noon. And you can also watch our previous webinars on YouTube. Like I said earlier, student loan management isn't quite up yet, but I'm very close to getting it up, hopefully in the next day or early next week. I always like to acknowledge all of the Get Savvy webinar series collaborators. There's lots of us out there. And if there were any questions, we can hang on for those. I did put up the questions Q&A feature. So if you didn't want to ask something publicly, you can answer it in the question and answer feature. So I just opened that up. But if you have someplace to go, if you're hungry, if you want to go outside because it's super nice out, please, we don't want to keep you any longer than you are willing to be here. But we will send the follow-up email to anyone that registered with a recording once it's available and appropriately captioned. Thank you for joining us today.